Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're going on a journey through Neil Gaiman's The Sandman.
Ooh.
Specifically, we're going to be exploring this really cool interplay between chaos and order.
Okay.
Now, we've got some excerpts here from an analysis document that we're going to unpack with you.
Sounds good.
And one of the things The Sandman does really well is it takes these abstract forces, chaos and order,
Right.
and it turns them into actual characters
Yes.
who grapple with these eternal struggles.
Absolutely.
And so we're going to talk about things like, can chaos actually be a force for creation?
Ooh.
Do we need both chaos and order to thrive?
Interesting.
How does all this relate to our lives and experiences?
Oh, great questions.
I'm really excited to dive into this with you.
Yeah, and what I find really fascinating about The Sandman is that Gaiman uses this family of characters called the Endless to represent different facets of existence. And their relationships and interactions really bring to life this idea of a constant push and pull between chaos and order.
Yeah, let's meet the family then, the Endless.
Yes.
I'm already very intrigued, especially by how each member embodies a different aspect of existence. Where should we even begin?
Well, we could start with Dream, also known as Morpheus.
Okay.
He's the ruler of the dreaming, where we go when we sleep.
Right.
And he is obsessed with order.
Oh, really?
I mean, everything has to be just the rules, the rituals, the very structure of dreams themselves.
Wow.
Like, imagine him as this ultimate micromanager, meticulously crafting every detail of your dreamscape.
Okay, so if Dream is the king of order, who is like the wild card in the family, who embodies the chaos?
Oh, that would be Delirium.
Okay.
So if Dream is all about structure, Delirium is pure, unadulterated chaos.
Oh, wow.
Her thoughts jump all over the place.
Really?
Her appearance is constantly changing, and her actions are impossible to predict.
Wow.
It's like trying to have a conversation with a kaleidoscope.
I can only imagine the family dinners.
Oh, I know, right? Chaos.
Oh my gosh. But hold on, there's another sibling who always fascinates me.
Okay.
Destiny. Always has this massive book, right?
Yes, always.
So how does his role tie into this whole chaos and order dynamic?
Absolutely he does. Destiny is bound to his book, following this preordained path.
Right.
So he embodies fate, the idea that everything's already written.
Okay.
But his presence raises a huge question.
What's that?
If everything is predetermined, where does free will fit in? It makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got order, we've got chaos,
Yes.
and we've got fate. What I'm really struggling with is how chaos can be creative.
Okay.
It seems so counterintuitive.
It's a paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
But think about dreams themselves.
Okay.
They come from our subconscious.
Right.
A place where logic often takes a back seat, right? It's messy, it's emotional, it's full of random imagery.
Yeah.
But within the dreaming, Morpheus shapes those raw, chaotic thoughts and emotions into the dreams that we experience. He's like an artist taking this wild, untamed energy of the subconscious and molding it into something beautiful and meaningful.
So he's like a cosmic sculptor almost.
Yeah, exactly. Bringing form to the formlessness.
Yeah.
But the Sandman also explores what happens when that balance is disrupted.
Okay.
Remember this whole thing with the dream vortex?
Vaguely. Remind me.
Okay, so the dream vortex, it's this rare phenomenon,
Okay.
a being with incredible power to either reshape or completely destroy the dreaming.
Really?
And what makes it even more intriguing is that it takes human form.
Oh, wow.
And this is where Rose Walker comes in.
Okay.
She's a seemingly ordinary young woman who unknowingly becomes this vortex of chaotic energy.
Really?
So her very existence poses this massive threat to the carefully constructed order of the dreaming.
So Rose is like chaos personified.
Exactly.
Like a walking, talking earthquake in the world of dreams.
Exactly.
Wow.
Her story really highlights the raw power of chaos.
Okay.
Its potential for both creation and destruction.
Oh.
Think of it like a wildfire. It can clear away the old and make way for new growth, but it can also burn everything to the ground.
Okay, that's an image that sticks with you.
It does, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what about chaos outside of the dreaming?
Yeah.
What about the chaos of like the real world, the kind we all face in our everyday lives?
Right.
Does the Sandman address that as well?
It does. Remember Hobgoblin?
Yeah, vaguely.
The man who chose immortality?
Oh, yeah.
He's lived through centuries of human history, witnessed wars, plagues, societal upheavals,
Gosh.
technological revolutions. He's basically the ultimate observer of chaos unfolding on a grand scale.
Wow, that's a front row seat to history.
Ah.
But how does he even cope with all that change and turmoil?
Right.
Does he just like crumble under the weight of it all?
Surprisingly, no.
Oh, wow.
What's fascinating about Hobb is that he adapts.
Really?
He learns from every experience,
Right.
evolves, and finds meaning even in the midst of chaos.
Wow.
He shows us that resilience is possible, even when the world seems to be falling apart around us.
It's like, bring on the chaos, I can handle it.
Exactly, but not all characters in the Sandman respond to chaos with such strength.
Right.
I'm thinking specifically of Lyta Hall.
Okay.
Her story really showcases the destructive potential of unchecked emotions, right?
Oh, in what way?
So Lyta, driven by grief and anger after the loss of her child,
Right.
attempts to defy the natural order of life and death.
Oh, wow.
Her actions highlight the dangers of letting our emotions spiral out of control,
Okay.
especially when those emotions are rooted in pain and loss.
So, while Hobb embodies adaptability in the face of chaos, Lyta represents the consequences of trying to force our will on the natural order of things.
Yes.
Two sides of the same coin, almost.
That's a great way to put it. And it brings us to a really intriguing point.
Okay.
Even the Endless, these seemingly all-powerful beings,
Right.
they are not immune to the forces of chaos and change.
Really?
In fact, Morpheus himself undergoes a significant transformation over the course of the series.
Wait, the Lord of Order, the ultimate control freak, actually changes?
He does.
I need to hear more about this.
Oh, it's a fascinating journey, trust me.
Okay.
And it has a lot to do with his interactions with another member of the Endless,
Okay.
Desire.
Okay, Desire.
Now, Desire is all about, well, desire.
Naturally.
And they have a knack for creating chaos, especially in Morpheus's life.
Desiring chaos, that sounds like a recipe for trouble.
It is.
But how does this force Morpheus to change? I mean, he's dreamed. Doesn't he have, like, ultimate power in his realm?
He does have immense power.
Yeah.
But even the most powerful beings are capable of growth and transformation,
Sure.
Desire, through their manipulations and meddling.
Right.
Forces Morpheus to confront his own rigidity.
Oh, okay.
It's like they're holding up a mirror to him, showing him that his obsession with order is actually making him brittle, unable to adapt to new situations.
So Desire is actually pushing Morpheus to evolve.
Yes.
Even if it's in a very roundabout, chaotic kind of way. It's like
Yes.
almost like a cosmic life lesson.
It is.
Sometimes you need a little chaos to break free from your own self-imposed limitations.
Exactly. And that idea of embracing change is central to the overall message of the Sandman. Even death, the most constant of the endless, acknowledges the inevitability of change. Right. She understands that endings are necessary for new beginnings.
Wow.
And that chaos is an integral part of the cycle of life and death.
That is pretty profound coming from death.
It is, right.
Yeah, it makes you think about how we approach change in our own lives. Are we resisting it, clinging to the familiar, or are we open to the possibilities that chaos can bring?
Right, exactly.
That's a great question to ponder.
It is.
And it brings us to the heart of what the Sandman is really exploring.
Yeah.
The idea that chaos and order are not opposing forces, but two sides of the same coin.
Exactly.
They're both essential for existence. Like the dreaming itself is the perfect example, right?
Absolutely.
A realm born from chaos.
Yeah.
Our dreams, our nightmares, our deepest desires. Yet it's also a structured world.
Right.
It has its own rules, its own boundaries.
Exactly. And this duality is reflected in one of the most intriguing relationships in the series. The dynamic between Morpheus and Delirium.
Wait, really? Those two seem like they'd be at each other's throats constantly.
No, right?
How can the embodiment of order possibly have a meaningful relationship with the embodiment of chaos?
Well, as with most things in the Sandman, it's complicated.
Okay.
On the surface, they're complete opposites.
Right.
Morpheus is all about control, structure, predictability, while Delirium is unpredictable, chaotic, completely unbound by logic or reason.
Oh, I see.
But despite their differences, there's this deep connection between them.
Good idea.
A sense that they need each other to maintain some sort of cosmic balance.
It's like the universe is saying you need a little bit of both. You need the structure and the boundaries.
Right.
But you also need that wildness, the unpredictability.
The spark of madness.
To keep things interesting.
Exactly. And that's a message that resonates on personal level too, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. We all have those two sides within us. The desire for control, for order, for things to make sense.
Yes.
But also that yearning for freedom, spontaneity, for those moments where you can just let go and embrace the chaos.
Absolutely. It's like we're all navigating our own personal dreamings.
Yeah.
Trying to find that sweet spot between structure and freedom.
Right.
The comfort of the familiar and the thrill of the unknown.
But the Sandman doesn't just explore these themes on a cosmic or individual level, does it?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about a specific character, the Corinthian,
Oh, yeah.
who embodies chaos in a particularly unsettling way.
Right. He's a nightmare created by dream.
Right.
But he goes rogue, stepping outside the boundaries of the dreaming and wreaking havoc in the waking world.
Right.
He represents that darker side of chaos.
Okay.
The destructive impulses, the primal fears, the things that lurk in the shadows of our collective unconscious.
Oh, God.
I know, he's creepy.
I remember being genuinely creeped out by the Corinthian.
Oh, yeah.
He's the kind of character who makes you double-check your locks at night.
Exactly.
But his existence raises some fascinating questions.
Like what?
Well, if Dream created the Corinthian, doesn't that make him partly responsible for the chaos that he unleashes? And what does it say about the nature of order when it gives rise to something so monstrous?
Those are excellent questions, and they get to the heart of the moral complexity of the Sandman.
Okay.
The story doesn't offer easy answers or simplistic moral judgments.
Right.
It challenges us to confront this uncomfortable truth that even the best intentions can have unintended consequences.
Oh.
And that even the most carefully constructed systems of order can be vulnerable to corruption and decay.
It's getting really deep. We've gone from talking about dreams and siblings to confronting the dark underbelly of chaos and the fallibility of order.
Right.
It's just mind-blowing how Gaiman manages to weave all these philosophical ideas within such a captivating story. But where does this all lead? What's the ultimate message about chaos and order that the Sandman is trying to convey?
Well, I think one of the key takeaways is that these forces are not mutually exclusive.
Okay.
They're not enemies locked in an eternal battle.
Right.
But rather two sides of the same coin.
Okay.
Two fundamental aspects of existence that are constantly interacting and shaping each other.
So it's not about choosing sides, chaos, or order.
Right.
But understanding their interconnectedness, their interdependence.
Exactly.
It's about learning to navigate those constantly shifting dynamics both within ourselves and in the world around us.
Exactly. And that's what makes the Sandman so relevant to our lives.
Yeah.
Even beyond this fantastical world it depicts.
Yeah.
It encourages us to embrace the complexity of existence, to acknowledge both the darkness and the light, the order and the chaos,
Right.
and to find our own unique path through these labyrinthine mysteries of life.
Wow, that's a powerful thought to sit with.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of all the insights that the Sandman has to offer.
Yeah, there's so much there.
This deep dive has definitely sparked a whole new level of appreciation for the series, though.
I'm glad.
But before we get too lost in existential contemplation,
Okay.
I want to bring it back to our listener for a moment.
Of course. Let's hear what they have to say.
What stands out to you so far about this whole exploration of chaos and order in the Sandman? Have you noticed similar themes in other stories, or maybe even in your own life? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, maybe you're seeing the characters in a new light, or maybe the themes that we've discussed are resonating with your own experiences in a way you hadn't expected.
Right.
Feel free to share your insights, and we'll continue this conversation in our next segment.
Absolutely. We'll be back soon. So we've established that even cosmic beings aren't immune to a little chaos.
Right.
You mentioned before that Morpheus actually changes a lot throughout the Sandman.
He does.
What triggers this transformation in the King of Order himself?
Well, part of it stems from his interactions with desire.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about them being the embodiment of, well, desire?
Right.
Their whole game is to stir things up.
Uh-huh.
And they seem to take particular delight in poking at Morpheus's carefully constructed world.
Okay, I'm already sensing some serious sibling rivalry.
It's definitely there.
But how does desire actually manage to influence Morpheus? He's the ruler of the dreaming, right?
Right.
Shouldn't he be able to just, shut desire down?
You would think so.
Yeah.
But power dynamics within the Endless are a lot more complicated than that.
Okay.
They each have their own domain, their own rules,
Right.
their own ways of influencing the world.
Okay.
And desire's power lies in manipulation, playing on the desires and weaknesses of others.
Right.
And Morpheus, despite his control over dreams, has his own vulnerabilities.
So it's like desire is constantly pushing Morpheus's buttons.
Yeah.
Forcing him to confront things he'd rather ignore.
Exactly.
It's like tough love, but on a cosmic scale.
Yeah, exactly. Desire's constant meddling exposes the cracks in Morpheus's rigid facade.
Okay.
It forces him to confront the fact that his strict adherence to order is actually holding him back, making him inflexible and unable to adapt to the ever-changing nature of existence.
That's a really interesting thought, though. that too much order can actually be a bad thing.
It's true.
Like that saying, the only constant is change.
Exactly.
Does the Sandman explore that idea more broadly?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the most profound voices on the subject of change comes from a pretty unexpected source. Death.
Death.
Yeah. She may be the embodiment of endings,
Right.
but she also understands that endings are necessary for new beginnings.
Wow.
She sees chaos not as something to be feared, but as an integral part of the cycle of life, death, and rebirth.
It's kind of ironic, isn't it? The character who represents the end of everything actually has a very nuanced understanding of change and renewal.
It is.
It makes you wonder, do we fear change because we don't fully understand it? Maybe if we saw it more like death does as just a natural part of life,
Right.
we wouldn't be so resistant to it.
That's a profound insight.
I think the Sandman really challenges us to rethink our assumptions about these seemingly opposite forces, right? It suggests that chaos and order aren't enemies,
Right.
but two sides of the same coin,
Exactly.
two fundamental aspects of existence that are constantly interacting and influencing each other.
Yeah, and the dreaming is the perfect microcosm of that idea, isn't it?
In what way?
It's a realm born from the chaos of the subconscious.
Right.
Yet it also has its own internal structure, its own rules and boundaries.
Exactly.
Right.
And this interplay between chaos and order isn't just confined to the dreaming.
Right.
It plays out in the relationships between the endless as well.
Yes.
We've already talked about Morpheus and Desire. But perhaps the most striking example of this duality is the relationship between Morpheus and Delirium. Really. Those two seem like they'd be at each other's throats constantly.
Oh.
How can the embodiment of order possibly have a meaningful relationship with the embodiment of chaos?
Well, as with most things in the Sandman, it's complicated.
Oh.
On the surface, they're complete opposites.
Right.
Morpheus is all about control, structure, predictability,
Yeah.
while Delirium is unpredictable, chaotic, and completely unbound by logic or reason.
Oh.
But despite their differences, there's this deep connection between them.
Yeah.
This sense that they need each other to maintain some sort of cosmic balance.
Like the universe is saying, look, you need a little bit of both. You need the structure and the boundaries.
Yeah.
But you also need the wildness, the unpredictability, the spark of madness to keep things interesting.
Precisely. And that's a message that resonates on a personal level, too, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. We all have those two sides within us.
Yeah.
That desire for control, for order, for things to make sense.
Yes.
But also that yearning for freedom, spontaneity, those moments where we can just let go and embrace the chaos.
Absolutely. It's like we're all navigating our own personal dreamings.
Yeah.
Trying to find that sweet spot between structure and freedom.
Right.
Between the comfort of the familiar and the thrill of the unknown.
But the Sandman doesn't just explore these themes on a cosmic or individual level, does it?
Right.
I'm remembering a specific character, the Corinthian,
Oh, yeah.
who embodies chaos in a particularly unsettling way.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
He's a nightmare created by dream.
Right.
But he goes rogue, stepping outside the boundaries of the dreaming and wreaking havoc in the waking world.
Yeah.
He represents the darker side of chaos.
Okay.
The destructive impulses, the primal fears, the things that lurk in the shadows of our collective unconscious.
He's so creepy.
I know, right?
I remember being genuinely creeped out by the Corinthian.
He is definitely unsettling.
The kind of character who makes you double-check your locks at night.
Exactly.
But his existence also raises some fascinating questions, though.
Such as?
Well, if Dream created the Corinthian, doesn't that make him partly responsible for the chaos that he unleashes? What does it say about the nature of order when it gives rise to something so monstrous?
Ooh, good point.
Yeah.
Those are excellent questions, and they get to the heart of the moral complexity of the Sandman.
Okay.
The story doesn't offer easy answers or simplistic moral judgments.
Right.
It challenges us to confront this uncomfortable truth that even the best intentions can have unintended consequences.
Wow.
And that even the most carefully constructed systems of order can be vulnerable to corruption and decay.
This is getting really deep. We've gone from talking about dreams and siblings to confronting the dark underbelly of chaos.
Well, I know, right?
And the fallibility of order.
Right.
It's mind-blowing how Gaiman manages to weave all these philosophical ideas within such a captivating story.
It really is. But where does it all lead?
Yeah.
What's the ultimate message about chaos and order that the Sandman is trying to convey?
That is the question, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the key takeaways is that these forces are not mutually exclusive.
Okay.
They're not enemies locked in an eternal battle.
Right.
But rather two sides of the same coin.
Okay.
Two fundamental aspects of existence that are constantly interacting and shaping each other.
So it's not about choosing sides, chaos or order, but about understanding their interconnectedness, their interdependence.
Exactly.
It's about learning to navigate those constantly shifting dynamics.
Right.
Both within ourselves and in the world around us.
Exactly. And that's what makes the Sandman so relevant to our lives.
Yeah.
Even beyond this fantastical world it depicts.
Yeah.
It encourages us to embrace the complexity of existence.
Okay.
To acknowledge both the darkness and the light, the order and the chaos, and to find our own unique path through this labyrinthine mystery of life.
Wow, that's a powerful thought to sit with.
It is.
I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of all the insights that Sandman has to offer.
There's so much there.
But this deep dive has definitely sparked a whole new level of appreciation for the series.
I'm glad to hear that. Before we get too lost in existential contemplation, though, I want to bring it back to our listener for a moment.
Okay, what do you think, listeners?
Yeah, what stands out to you so far about this exploration of chaos and order in the Sandman?
Have you noticed similar themes in other stories? Or maybe even in your own life? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Maybe you're seeing the characters in a new light? Or maybe the themes that we've discussed are resonating with your own experiences in a way you hadn't expected.
Right.
Feel free to share your insights, and we'll continue this conversation in our next segment.
Okay, so we've covered so much ground in this deep dive.
We have.
From the family dynamics of the endless to the idea that chaos can be both destructive and creative.
Right.
We also touched on how these themes play out in the lives of, like, the mortal characters, and even within the dreaming itself.
Absolutely.
But as we kind of wrap up our exploration of the Sandman, I'm curious, what's the big takeaway here? What's the so what for our listeners?
Well, I think the Sandman offers us this really profound perspective
Okay.
on the nature of existence itself.
Okay.
It challenges us to see chaos and order not as opposing forces,
Right.
Locked in this eternal battle, but as two sides of the same coin.
Yep.
Two fundamental aspects of reality that are constantly interacting and influencing each other.
So it's not about choosing one over the other,
Right.
but recognizing that we need both.
Exactly.
They're both essential for a balanced and meaningful existence.
Yes, and perhaps it's in the interplay between those forces, in those moments of tension and harmony, that we find the most beauty, the most meaning, the most growth.
Okay.
Think about it, like the most captivating stories, the most innovative ideas
Right.
often come from these unexpected collisions between the familiar and the unknown,
Yeah.
between structure and spontaneity.
It's like that spark of creativity that happens when you step outside your comfort zone.
Exactly.
You allow yourself to embrace a little bit of chaos,
Yeah.
shake things up, and just see what emerges from the dust.
Right, it's like Morpheus learning to loosen his grip on the dreaming.
Yeah.
Or Hobgadling adapting to centuries of change and upheaval.
Precisely. And I think the Sandman encourages us to do just that. Not to be afraid of the messy, the unpredictable, the things that challenge our preconceived notions of how the world should be.
Absolutely.
Because it's often in those moments of disruption,
Right.
Those times when the rug is pulled out from under us,
Yeah.
that we discover our true potential, our resilience, our capacity for change.
So true.
This has been such a mind-expanding deep dive.
It has.
I feel like I have a whole new understanding of the Sandman.
I'm glad.
But before we wrap up completely,
Okay.
I want to leave our listeners with one final thought-provoking question.
Okay, hit me.
We've talked a lot about how the endless represent these fundamental forces of existence. So if you had to choose, which endless do you think you embody most in your own life?
Ooh.
Are you a Morpheus, striving for order and control, a delirium, embracing the wild, unpredictable?
Oh.
Or maybe a Hobgadling, adapting and evolving with each new challenge?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
It's a question worth pondering, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which aspect of existence do you resonate with most?
Right.
Which force do you find yourself drawn to or grappling with in your own life?
Yeah.
Maybe it's different depending on the day or the situation.
Yeah.
Maybe you're a little bit of all of them.
Right.
The beauty of the Sandman is that it reminds us we're all complex beings.
Yeah.
Capable of embodying both chaos and order.
Right.
Darkness and light.
And maybe that's the ultimate lesson here.
Yeah.
It's not about being one thing or the other, but about embracing the full spectrum of who we are, the messy, beautiful, ever-evolving tapestry of our existence.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we encourage you to keep exploring.
Yes.
Keep questioning.
Keep embracing the beautiful complexity of this journey we call life.
And keep diving deep into the stories and ideas that spark your curiosity.
Absolutely.
Until next time.